Hello there, good afternoon. I need to turn my robot on. Hello. It's Tuesday, October 22nd in the afternoon. I'm that developer dad, and we're working on designing and documenting the admin system for the DM's Familiar. And this morning we added some documentation about the different behaviors that the administration API will expose. And we're getting into the account manager. So before I go through the account manager stuff more than I already have, what I want to do is purpose, behaviors. I want to edit this and say normal person. Documentation. And I'm going to bump the behaviors by one level of heading. And we'll add a horizontal rule here. Nerd stuff. And purpose authenticates the incoming request, analyzes the request, and forwards it to the appropriate manager operation. Implementation. Will be ASP.NET Core Web API, likely using minimal API. Uses an AccountManager instance, configures an AccountManager instance as the target for the API call. Routing. Configures, passes configuration data to the manager on dependency resolution. Manager is responsible for instantiating its own dependencies based on the provided configuration. Manager will expose a DI constructor that is to be used only when the operational context of the API is not production operation. Tab that in. i.e. test scenarios. And let's preview, make sure all of my indents and all of that good stuff are correct. Yep. Responsible for instantiating its own dependencies based on the provided configuration. Expose a DI constructor that is to be used only when the operational context of the API is not production. Is not production operation, for example, test scenarios. Okay. Yeah, I dig that. It gets away from the this specification is getting away from the problems that I have with the current dependency injection scenarios, or the current dependency injection implementation that Microsoft gives us. I don't like creating the resource access components that should be buried deep inside my manager service in the hosting process. I think I want to, with this, start developing and discovering some patterns I can use where the host will provide necessary configuration info to those managers, but the manager class itself will be responsible for creating the dependency classes that it'll use during its operations. I still want to allow injection, but I want to make that injection optional rather than required. So we've got that implementation. I think I want to further formalize that that section here. I am going to commit real quick just so I don't do anything dumb. We'll go back into edit mode. Okay. And technology. Hosting. Azure App Service. Exposure. Non-public. To start. May need to expose publicly, depending on what kind of UI application I decide to roll. Dependencies. Direct dependencies. Logging. We're absolutely going to want this thing able to log. OAuth for authentication, authorization, account manager, configuration, use environment vars rather than app config. .json strategy, app config.json strategy, AccountManager, via no. Account manager, yeah. We're going to bump that in by a level. Responsible for instantiating its own dependencies based on the provided configuration. Yeah. Ba-da. Let's preview. Make sure my indents are still good. They are. Let's commit. Commit changes. All right. Down here, direct dependencies, logging, OAuth, configuration, account manager. Yeah. Good. Let's go back to account manager. See if customer profile changes. This is all the plain English behavior. I need to fix up that. So let's do that because that's a little goofy. Preview. Here we go. Good. Now, known activity contexts in the account manager. Manager customer subscription. Good. I'm not sure I want to use the word activity context, and I want to de-smurf these activity contexts. So I'm going to commit those changes. Go back into edit mode. And instead of activity context, I want to say subscription action identifier. Currently known subscription actions. And since these are subscription actions, we don't need to say subscription on those identifiers. Neat, huh? Now let's commit these. Scroll down, our formatting is still good. And let's go back to edit. Drop in a horizontal rule just to add a nerd stuff. Namespaces, tdd saasadmin.managers.customer account. Interfaces, iCustomer account manager. We're also going to have tdd SaaS admin dot managers dot customer account dot strategy handlers, or just strategies. Project name. TDD SaaS admin dot managers dot customer account project type C# class library. Whoop. We're going to bold that. And we're going to bold this. .NET 8. Because I only like to use even numbered long-term support versions of the .NET framework. There's a lot of really neat stuff in .NET 9. I feel like I want to wait for .NET 10 so that it's a bit more stable. Let's preview this, see how it looks. So project name, I spelled that wrong. Project type, C# class library, .NET 8. Okay. Namespaces. All right, let's go back to edit. I need to put a couple of spaces after that to give it a new line. Namespaces. Root. Folder. Internal classes. Interfaces. Internal only internal interfaces and implementations. Customer account.strategies, okay. TDD SaaS admin dot managers customer account dot public is going to be a folder only public interfaces and class definitions. Excuse me. Put the default manager implementation here. I will fix my typo there. Is it customer account? No. Yeah, customer account. Interface. Public, my customer account manager. Internal. I strategy handler. T I. Strategy handler of T. And U. Where T is a resource definition. U inherits from action. And I can't use action because that's a reserved word in .NET. So I have to say resource action. And resource means a specific thing. So I also don't want to use resource as my noun there. And I don't care for that structure. Strategy handler and strategy of T. Where T is a resource definition, yes, but is, I'm going to call this, I don't want to use business entity. System object. And a system object is nothing more than and it's going to take in an I strategy because strategy provides behavior. And I strategy of T provides that behavior for a specific type. Now, a system object is going to have to become a framework method or a framework base class, and it's going to be very, very thin. iStrategy is going to be a framework interface, and it too is going to be incredibly thin. So we're going to commit our changes. Come out to Docs, add IFX / framework concepts.md. And this is just going to become a dumping ground for these ideas. Edit. Framework concepts. And we got to make it an H1. System object. Base class is a base class that will be inherited by any other class that represents some kind of meaningful entity within the context of one or more processes defined by the system. For example, customer profile, customer subscription, user quota, subscription template, etc. I strategy of T, where T inherits from system object. Defines a behavior or set of closely related behaviors and it's not defines but describes set of closely related behaviors that are performed on the specified type T. Commit. And or a set of closely related behaviors. If a particular strategy is, if a particular implementation of an action is materially different from other implementations of from another implementation of the same action on the same system object, it must be defined as a discrete implementation of that action. Commit. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Okay, let's go back to our component details. Back into the account manager. iStrategy handler. iStrategy handler may actually, I need to edit this. Oh. It doesn't like the double things. Is there an escape character? Let's preview that. It doesn't like the angle brackets. Hey, there we go. I just had to escape them. Cool. Internalize strategy handler. This may become a framework level component that is owned by the manager. Yeah, I feel like that is the correct way of doing it. So let's commit that change because we fixed the angle bracket thingies. And I want to go back into IFX, framework contexts, system object, iStrategy. Manager components will have an instance implementation of iStrategy handler. And let's bullet point these. I bumped that in one too far. All right. iStrategy handler. iStrategy of T has a action name, identifies the thing the strategy performs. All strategy, all iStrategy of T. Okay. iStrategy handler T for each system object the manager deals with. iProxy factory. Will be a dictionary of type, string and type, where string is the name of dependency interface, type is the concrete type to be used when calling the remote component. Yeah, something like that. Excuse me. Remote components that are used by strategy implementations will receive the proxies to their required remote services when those strategies are initialized. Strategy implementations will be defined within a manager's defined as internal classes within the component project that uses them. Yeah, I kind of dig that. Yeah, save that. Boop. Have an instance implementation of an iStrategy handler, a proxy factory. So that means I can come back to my use cases, not the images, but the use cases. No, the component details, you silly goose. And I can come back in here and edit interfaces. We're not going to have an internal iStrategy handler. Public. This folder will hold any public interfaces or data classes that specify the protocols to be used by calling components. These protocols may include data transfer objects, simple.NET POCOs, or service contracts .NET interfaces. Yep. Bump that in by a scooch. And we'll put the individual strategy implementations for the different subscription actions in here. Excuse me. iCustomer Account Manager. That's really the only interface. That we need to worry about. Bop, 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 bop. Methods. Go home. There we go. Project name, project type. Dependencies. I'm going to add these dependencies as I spec them out. No, I'm not. I'm going to list them now. We know we are going to need a validation engine. Or an iValidator. Prorater. I'm going to put this one down the list because we don't know for sure if we need it. We're going to need customer access. We're going to need subscription access and shop gateway. And I want to save this because I realized store gateway or the word store could be overloaded. It could be a verb or it could be a noun. In this context, shopgateway.md gateway purpose provides methods that wrap the details in performing actions against the e-commerce services API. Save. Commit. Store gateway, you're out of here. Commit. Yep. Go away. That's better. I like Shop Gateway better. Better review my image here. Here's this. Store Gateway. Yeah, we better load up Draw IO. Here we go. Yeah. I want to edit this. What's this nonsense? No. File. Open recent. This. Yeah, discard those changes. I don't need those. Here we go. Shop Gateway. File. Save. File. Export as a ping. Export. And admin system static arch. Static arch. .png. Save. Replace. And we'll get rid of that. And I got to come back to images. Actually, wait. I have to load this. Delete it. Commit. Yes. And upload. Choosing content, app images. I want to make sure that's the right one. Let's take a look. It still says Store Gateway. Don't blast it. Silly thing. What are you doing? Open. Where the heck did it get saved? Cancel. File. Open recent. This one. Shop. Save. There we go. Export. Admin system dot static architecture. Save. Shrink. Oh. Gah. I want to delete this. Get lost. Rename this. What even are you doing, Mr. Mac? There. Now let's open it locally before I upload it. There's Shop Gateway. Good. All right. Get rid of that. Delete this from my ad. Choose your files. And commit that. All right, docs. I want to make sure it actually updated. How about refresh? For some reason, it's still showing that. That's very silly and goofy. There's shop. That's so very bizarre. I'll fight with that later. Back into component details. Account manager. My subscription access, iShop gateway, my prorater. I actually need to take a look at this. Rules access. The validation, well, the validation engine is what's going to have access to the rules. Customer access, check. Subscription access, check. Shop gateway, check. Have I listed them all? Okay. Good. Dependencies are going to move down into the actual implementation. But let's define the methods. Bloop. Control X, V, we'll pop those down there. Methods. Public. Create customer profile. System object, TBD. Nope. Customer profile. Customer data profile, and it will return this is the manager. Customer profile, exception, yeah, nullable exception. Customer data, okay. Accepts a customer data object and uses it to provision a new customer profile. Returns either a customer, the newly provisioned customer profile, or an exception. Public. Customer profile, nullable, exception, nullable. Do I want to keep using the op result? I do, but it's messy. The op result pattern that I used in the DM's Familiar is really, really messy to look at, and it's a little tricky to work with. I might iterate on this concept. Excuse me. We've also got save profile changes or just store customer profile, profile. Overwrites the values of any what's that darn word? Any mutable properties on the customer profile object in the various storage in the various resources. Returns either the post update profile or an exception. You're not going to add load customer profile. Manage customer subscription. Public customer subscription. New. Yeah. Exception. Manage customer subscription. And action kind, action. And subscription data, data. Validates the inbound data to ensure that it's correct for the identified action. Forwards that data to the matching strategy implementation. Excuse me. Management action. Interfaces, implementations, public, enum, action kind, identifies the different actions be performed against the incoming subscription data. All of these names are subject to change. Data, customer profile, customer subscription, subscription data. Yeah. Coming subscription data. Corresponds to the list of you know what? Control C. Current action kinds include save. I want to make sure my formatting is still good. Current action kinds include. All right. Public enum action kind. Might want to do this as a list of strings instead, or string constants. Not sure. We're also going to need an iLogger. Of class name. Hey, what's up, C Films? All right. And that feels about right. You know what? I think I'm going to pass in a logger factory. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna use a logger factory here, and then in the constructor for the actual account manager, I'll use that logger factory to construct an iLogger of thing. And that means when I instantiate these dependencies, I'll be able to have those dependency classes also expect an iLogger factory, and they can instantiate their own loggers of whatever they are. So yeah, that's what we're going to do there. Note, this concept is subject to change. I'm not sure I like it. Save that. Commit. I gotta put that on its own line. Pop down here. Space is what Markdown likes to see. Commit changes. I really like the GitHub overrode the behavior of Control S on their page. That's super nice. And actually, I want to put this note. X V save commit. That's better. New action kind, interfaces, methods. Okay. Really not sure I love that return, that using a basically an implicit tuple as my return type there. I want to look into some other options. Like op result is a good idea in principle in that it wraps everything up nicely, but the code that goes into the the downstream or the upstream methods to deal with that op result object is really, really ugly, and it's really, really repetitive, and it kind of obscures what the methods that use it are doing. And in my opinion, that's a big problem. So you notice that over here in Framework Concepts, I'm talking about this concept, this idea of a proxy factory. Something I haven't been doing in the DM's familiar code that I want to develop in here because it's sort of a fresh solution is try to nail this concept of a proxy factory where each component communicates with its dependencies through the use of a proxy as opposed to a direct reference. And I feel like if I can nail that proxy and the proxy factory concepts sufficiently, I can move all of that op result wrapping and unwrapping into the iProxy concept, or into the code that actually invokes the remote methods against the proxy. And then I'm no longer dealing with op result. I'm just dealing with the actual expected types. Although, again, that doesn't do anything that would allow me to propagate errors down or back up the stack to their origination point. So this may or may not make it to the actual code. All right, I'm going to commit that change. And let's take one last look at Account Manager. Have I captured the behaviors I need to capture? So manage customer subscription. It expects what kind of action we're taking on it and the data for that action. And subscription data, no. Action data. Oh, what are you doing? Gotta edit. Action data. And not in love with that naming. Is that data on the matching strategy implementation? Returns either the updated customer subscription state or an exception. And that is about as far as I want to go with this for today. That needs another, that's a smaller thing. Customer account manager. Implements account manager. Is that what I called it? Customer account manager. I'm going to make this public, but I may change my mind on that. Save. Commit. And I think we have ourselves a productive stream. I'm going to keep making notes on this stuff tomorrow. Or perhaps we've gone far enough into this that we should start looking at defining the behaviors for some of these dependency components. So iValidator, that's our validation engine. Yeah. Customer access, subscription access, shop gateway, prorater, may not need it. Logger factory, yeah, that's a .NET. That's a .NET Core object. Yeah, I think this is enough on this for now. And of course, we're going to continue refining this until we have something actionable. And we're really, really close on the account manager. Very close. So yeah, I think we're at a good spot. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We did a lot more thinking, a lot more planning, and this is really going to shorten the amount of time I spend scratching my head when I get to coding this stuff. So stick around, and I'll prove that assertion probably starting sometime next week. But until tomorrow, I wish you all a good evening. I've got some things to do around the house. I got to rewire my wife's Ethernet connection um, and do some other stuff. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have yourselves a great evening. Happy coding. Bye now.